Hello everybody and welcome to our expert interview video series. Today we're here with Dr. Lal from Ohio State University. We're going to be talking a little bit about his career in soil science and his contributions to the field. My name is Emma and I'm the founder and executive director of the Environmental Defense Initiative.
I'm Rattan Lal. I'm Distinguished University Professor of Soil Science at Ohio State. I've been at the university since 1987, so that's about 37 plus years. And before coming to Ohio State, I was at the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture, which is in Ibadan, Nigeria, and I was there for about 18 years. And I also did some work in New South Wales, Australia, for about 1 year. So I have worked several countries and especially focus on tropical soils and their management in relation to climate change. And recently, my focus is how agriculture can be transformed to become a part of the solution rather than a problem.
Awesome, thank you so much. So first I'm just going to ask you a little bit about your career. So to start off, what inspired you to pursue a career in soil science?
Very good. That's a very nice question indeed. I grew up in a small farm in Punjab, Haryana in India, northwestern part of India. My family in 1947 came from what is now part of Pakistan, but there also my family was farmers. And these are small farmers, like 5 acre, 10 acre. When it is 20 acre, it's a big farm. So you can see the comparison. And these small farms, their well-being and their ability to feed themselves and support the family and have some cash income depends on the productivity of the soil. And when soils are degraded and depleted, of course they suffer. And at present, the estimate is 550 million small farmers like that around the world. So my interest in soil has been since then on how to improve, sustain, and enhance productivity of soil, and how to make sure that the nutritional quality of soil is good, because health of soil, plants, animal, people, environment, and the planet is interconnected. Therefore, my interest is based on personal experience of growing up on a small farm in Northwest India.
Awesome, thank you so much. So on that note, what does a typical work day look like for you and what kinds of things do you do on a day-to-day basis?
Very nice. On a farm when I was growing up, between the age of, let's say, 8 or 10 to about 15, before I went to the college, 15, 16 year age, the goal was to wake up early in the morning and do the work. I still have the same habit. I wake up about 3:30 to 4 a.m. and I'm in my office at 5 o'clock. And the reason for that is because I have projects in Asia and Africa and Europe. And sometimes to colleagues in Asia and Africa and Europe, I have to speak early in the morning, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. That's very time. So my office work begins at 5 a.m. If there are no meetings with any global issues like FAO or World Bank or any other EU country program or Asian program, I'm mostly writing at that time in the morning. So before the staff come, between 5 and 9, I'm writing either a journal article, review article, or a book chapter. I'm editor. And then staff comes in about 8:39. I meet with graduate students, staff, postdoc, visiting scholar. I have visiting scholar. I'm very privileged to have right now visiting scholar from Egypt, from Pakistan, from Japan, from Brazil. And it's a very major strength for us when other scholars from around the come and visit us. And then I teach classes. Today, I had 2 classes. One was environmental soil physics, and that class was from 10 o'clock to about 11:30. And my second class was soil and climate, and that class was from 2 o'clock to 3:45. And so it's a very busy day, but it's very productive day. It's very rewarding day, and I wouldn't like it in any other way. So I'm here till 5 5 to 5. And at 5 o'clock after this interview, I'll go to a gym where I exercise for 1 hour.
Great. It sounds like a very packed day for you. How I'm wondering, do you participate in any kind of like student research? Do you help them with their research projects?
Yeah, some of the research topics, our center is carbon sequestration and management center. So most of our students and scholars and visiting scientists are involved in some way or the other on how to make soils of the world a sink of atmospheric CO2. Right now, soils are source of carbon dioxide, nitrogen oxide, N2O, nitrous oxide, and also methane. So how can we manage soil so rather than being a source, agricultural operation can make them a sink? And the idea is how to make input of carbon by manure, by compost, by green manure, by residue return, by animal waste return, so that there is a more input into the soil and some of the carbon that we put in the soil stays there for a longer period of time. So these are the kind of activity that we do. I had two classes today discussing the same topic. So teaching student and interacting with them, uh, I must say I learn from them when they ask very good question, and the young students in their 20s and 30s, they are very bright, very brilliant, more so than I am, and they ask very good question, and that dialogue with student is very rewarding part of the day's activity.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I do some environmental science research myself, so it's really interesting to hear about the projects that your students are working on. Thank you.
Oh,
Um,
I'm very glad. Yeah, the environment project, which right now are climate change, water quality, waste disposal, land application of waste, and how to improve management system in such a way that we produce more from less.
mhm.
That's very critical. The green revolution of the 60s was okay. You got improved variety, put in a lot of fertilizer, a lot of pesticide, a lot of irrigation water, and we use 200 million tons of fertilizer globally, 4 million tons of pesticide globally.
Mhm.
And these are serious issues. We use 3,150 kilometer cube of water for irrigation. So this is not the way to continue. We must learn how to improve efficiency and reduce the inputs, especially of fertilizers and pesticide and irrigation water.
Definitely, yeah. And on that note, what are some of the most rewarding aspects of your job, would you say?
Well, as I mentioned, working with younger generation student, visiting scientist, postdoc scholar, but at the same time, also trying to work with policymakers. Soil science cannot make any drastic changes in the global scale, like making soil as a sink or agricultural sleep, unless the science is translated to action,
Mhm.
and that has to be done by policymakers. So when I was the president of the International Union of Soil Science, I started an award, Distinguished Service Medal, for policymakers who are making difference. So we gave an award of distinguished service to Secretary of Agriculture of France, Germany, and Morocco. This was during my time, and I think they have continued that. So we are trying to change the policies. The other thing we want to do is alphabet books. Should we have alphabet books for ABC, which is focused on soil? So one of my colleague, Maggie Willis, she had just finished this week ABC of soil. So all the alphabets are soil related, like soil, S for soil, W for water, C for climate change, and so forth. And the alphabet book is not only already colored, but there are without coloring, just so that children, 5, 7, 8 year old can color them also and understand the meaning of it. So I'm promoting that how to bring about interest in soil at a very young age, right from kindergarten onward, so that we can attract the best and brightest to the soil science profession.
Definitely. Thank you so much. I think that that point that you made is very important too, in terms of like we scientists do the research and then it's the policymakers that actually translate the findings from the research into action. So yes, I love that.
They have to make policies which can motivate farmers to implement. For example, we can say farmers should manage the land in such a way that land sequesters carbon. Policymakers should have a policy which is pro-nature, pro-agriculture, and pro-farmer. We can reward farmer for doing good agriculture. So it's a three-way interaction. I should say four-way interaction. You got farmers, they are the key stakeholder. You got scientists, you got policymaker, and you got private sector. The private sector had to provide the input. So interaction and connectivity and communication among these four stakeholders is really what makes the whole thing very interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. So how does your researcher work impact agriculture, the environment, and other industries that you work with?
The key part, if you look at the environment people, they have been saying agriculture is a problem. And now we realize what environmental are saying, because agriculture has affected biodiversity, has affected climate change, has affected water quality and renewability. So now we are trying to find out, okay, the things that adversely affected agriculture, can we try to use them in a way so that there is no leakage into the environment? It's the leakage into the environment which causes the problem. So we want to make agriculture a solution. So integrating environmental issues with agriculture, with soil and water, with the goal of returning some land and water back to nature. So that environment, whether it's photosynthesis of returning land back to nature, saving water quality, improving biodiversity. So I think agriculture and nature have to work together. The scientists dealing with the environment, and the private sector can play a major role in providing the inputs which are more pro-soil, pro-nature, pro-farmer, pro-environment. So that interaction between the environmental scientists and the private sector. We have been working with private sector, for example, John Deere, help us with the seed drill without plowing. Working with the industry that produces pesticide and herbicide. Can we find out formulation so that we have to minimize the use of herbicide and pesticide? Work with the industry on value addition. So all those things are very rewarding to bring in Africa, for example. The agriculture lagged behind. Private sector and policymaker both have to really bring about this transformation in agriculture. Private sector to provide the input and policymaker to provide the incentive and create an environment, work environment that farmers feel that they are important, they are respected. Their work is critical to the well-being of the entire community. And that's what we want. We want to make sure agriculture profession at all level is respected.
Definitely, thank you. And moving on to our next question, is there a particular research project or study that you've worked on that has been really memorable for you?
I mentioned I worked in Africa, and it was 1970, and our first board meeting was going to happen on, I still remember, 21st of April 1970. So by 20th, we had deforested some land and plowed it, as we know at that time, and we planted corn on a very well plowed land, completely bare ground, no mulch, no residue. Looked very nice. And the next day, the board was supposed to see it, young seedling, about 10 days old. That evening came a rainstorm at an intensity of 6 inches per hour.
Oh my gosh.
And I went first thing in the morning to see what happened to my plot, and they were all washed away. And never seen an erosion like that. So my focus immediately changed. Plowing did it. Can I do seeding of crops while the residue is on the ground and the land is not plowed? That really changed many things. And that was in 1970. In 1984, a very good moment came. Roger Well was president of the US National Academy of Science. He came to see my plots in 84 in Nigeria, and I was showing him serious erosion problem if you plow, and the carbon content in soil has gone down from 3% under forest to less than half a percent now. It has gone. And he asked me a question, where did it go? And can you put it back?
Mm.
Where did it go? It did go in the atmosphere, and we discussed it. Can you put it back? That is what the sequestration is. From 84, I started working how to manage the land so we can put the carbon that we have lost back. So there have been several moments like this which are really, really very critical.
Hmm. And are there any, like, through your research, are there any methods that you've come up with for how to put the carbon back into the soil?
Yes, certainly. Uh, we can never put back entirely.
Hmm.
So the question came up, how much have you lost
Yeah.
from the land since the agriculture began on that particular land? And how much of that we have lost? Can you put it back and how? And how can you incentivize the farmer? So a new concept came up, carbon farming. Just like farmer grow corn or soybean or raise cattle or poultry and they can get income from it, you grow carbon in land and get income from it. That's carbon farming. And this is where I've been promoting recently, not succeeded yet, but I'm not given up. We need Soil Health Act. We have a Clean Air Act of US EPA.
Yeah.
We have Clean Water Act of US EPA. We have no Healthy Soil Act. If our soils are not healthy, you can never have clean water or clean air or nutritious food. It's simple as that. So we need policymaker to help us enact Soil Health Act, which has a provision to reward farmer for making agriculture a solution.
That's a great point. I can't argue with you there. You're totally right. But yeah, I would totally be in support of that. Have you taken any like steps to promote that with policymakers?
Well, I had a graduate student who worked with the Senate this last summer,
Mm-hmm.
and she is a social scientist with interest in policy, and she's very good. She worked. Ohio has something being discussed about it. So, European Green Deal is a very good role model. So hopefully we will have a Soil Health Act in the United States. Sometimes farmers and others are worried, is this mean punishment to us? No. Soil Health Act is supposed to reward farmers for doing good agriculture financially. If they do not, leave them alone. There is no punishment to anybody. That's the way. And I hope that there's this US Senate has a soil caucus. It has 6 senators, my understanding, and hopefully through media such as yours, they would be listening or somebody would be telling them, hey, some old professor from Ohio State talking about soil health. What do you think about it?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it will happen.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
we need it. US need to take action so that other can follow.
100%. Yeah. And I would love to promote that too. Like promote that more and like hear specific things about like what the provisions would be within the act. That would be amazing.